Welcome to Down to Earth Astrology and Primal Girl Wellness. I am Miss Jenny and I am your astrologer. So, wow, what a year we have coming. What a year we have coming. I'm so excited about this. But before we get into that, we have to cover some groundwork. So, there's a lot of misconceptions about Pisces and Neptune in the 12th house. And now with Jupiter joining Pisces and Neptune there's going to be more confusion about what to expect with this. So before we get started, let's review some fundamentals. For those of you who are familiar with astrology and for those of you who are new, this is a lesson in symbology that we use in astrology and making sense of what we're seeing. Let's go. Okay, so the year is 2022. Jupiter is moving into Pisces, and at some point during the year, it will conjunct Neptune, also in Pisces. Now, the common association with Pisces and Neptune is drugs, drug addiction, alcoholism, escapism, lies, deception. Woo! And that's typically the go-to because it's a quick, easy thing, I suppose. But, and in fairness, also too, it's because Neptune in 12th house, because Pisces and Neptune both rule the 12th house of the zodiac, is a very subtle, easily misunderstood, and complicated position. So not all things are easy and straightforward, and the 12th house and Neptune and Pisces are certainly at the top of that list. So while we're doing this, let's talk about some of the fundamentals involved in the 12th house rulership and what it means. So before we get too much into this, I just want to share with you a little story, right? So, as per usual, I have attempted 4 or 5 times to make this video. I'm learning a lot about my DSLR camera, up to and including it has 12 or 13-minute time limits for video recording, which will be very good in keeping my videos very short in the future. But let me tell you, I spent the better part of 36 hours trying to understand what was going on with my camera because it's all new for me. And, I'm not the most technologically savvy person in the world, so it took me twice as long to figure out some basic stuff. As I do this now, I'm actually recording from my iPad, which also has a learning curve because I have to figure out how to move it from the iPad to the PC to edit. Anyway, so I finally gave up at the end of the night. I'm like, oh my God, I can't do this anymore. I'm going to pull my hair out and throw the camera across the room. And during the process of remaking this video over and over and over again, at least 4 or 5 times yesterday, one of the things, and we're going to cover it again in this video, that I talked about is that there's the very real and distinct possibility that many of us will have very direct and immediate, clear encounters with extraterrestrials. I know, right? And it's not like this occasional sighting in a cornfield by, some lonely person, drinking moonshine out of a jug. No. I mean, like many of us together will be in groups or have mass sightings so that we're all validating each other that we're not crazy, this really happened. So, and the thing about it is, we know just a couple years ago, the Navy finally confirmed that there were things flying around that they've got pictures of that they couldn't explain. So it's not ours, it doesn't belong to another government, it's not of this world. So there is that, and all of the alien folks from the 80s, when all this was big, oh my God, so many amazing, weird, wonderful people from those days. Who said that there was life on Earth, and listen, by the way, I don't mean David Icke or Icky or whatever his damn name is, freaking wackadoodle. Anyway, but there were a lot of people who were saying that there are extraterrestrials out there, and they have visited us and all this sort of stuff, and it was just a whole big stew of colorful and crazy in that day. So a lot of people didn't get taken very seriously. But now with the Navy confirming that, it lends a little more credence that, something's happening, and we're not crazy. It's not swamp gas, they're gaslighting us. So, I just happened to get on the internet this morning to do, internet searches and check mail. And I came across this piece, right, that said, are you ready? I'll put the link in the description box. NASA has hired theologians to discuss the impact of revealing to the public that life in outer space, extraterrestrial life exists, and how this would affect their understanding and view of God and religion. NASA just did this 2 days ago. I didn't know. I did not know. I had spent the last 36 hours fighting with a camera and learning technology, trying to figure out how to make this work, just do simple videos. But apparently this just happened. So before somebody sees this, say, oh, well, she's just saying that because she saw it there. No, 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 no. I'm just seeing it this morning. It came out in the news 2 days ago. I'm just now finding out about it. But when I talk about this, I'm specifically talking about the transits. It's nice to know that I'm being validated here ahead of time. So there's that. The other thing that's been going on the last couple of days is Jupiter is finishing its journey through Aquarius and getting ready to head into Pisces on the 29th. 29th Eastern Standard Time anyway. December 28th or 29th, the end of this month, Jupiter is slipping into Pisces. And as this is happening with all the things that Jupiter and Pisces promises us, I've had some very weird, unexplainable issues with my electronic equipment, obviously, and I had a ring that's made of very good metal. It's not a soft metal, and a much loved ring. It's this one, right? That deformed on my finger. It misshaped and turned into an oval, and I couldn't get it off because it was no longer a round circle to slide across my knuckle. And there's no explanation for that because my hands are not that strong. And it took pliers and a lot of strength, actually, and some careful movement to get it back to its original shape so I could get it on and off again. But that was very weird and unexpected. So I know this doesn't make any sense or mean anything to a lot of you, but for those of you who have these experiences on a fairly regular basis, like you have difficulty keeping electronic equipment alive, watches, clocks, computers, and or who have things that disappear and reappear, like literally right in front of you, like you're not crazy, it wasn't there a second ago because nobody else saw it, now suddenly it's there, right? Or having things like jewelry, like literally deforming itself on your hand suddenly, which is inexplicable because your hand is not that strong. It would have happened before now, and you didn't do anything to cause that. You and I, we can expect a lot more of this as the year goes on with Jupiter and Pisces, because one of the other things that's happening is with situations like that, what's happening is as somebody whose third eye is open, okay, a lot of times you are a conduit for information, but information is energy. In this particular case, it's transmitted through energy. So what happens is all this energy is coursing through you, and you may or may not be able to process or ground it adequately. All right, doesn't mean that you're not doing it. You may not be able to do it well, depending on what's coming through. And when that happens, this energy has, because all energy has a kind of like electrical field around it, or impulse, right? And that will literally surge and throw off all of the electrical equipment around you, which is why it's difficult to keep watches and computers and other electronic items living for very long. It's not you. And things deforming, heat is energy. So, jewelry deforming on my fingers, massive amount of heat that needed to soften that metal enough for the muscles in my finger, to cause it to deform, which still makes no sense because I didn't do anything, right? Anyway, we can expect a lot more of this to happen as Jupiter goes through Pisces, because as Jupiter moves through Pisces, and especially with Neptune and Pisces with it, the veil between worlds is very thin this year. It's very thin. Now, what this means for everybody, not just those of us who can't hang on to our electronic equipment without it ending up destroyed, is that we are going to have a lot more personal, immediate, and direct encounters with our ancestors, our spirit guides, our guardian angels, our whatever it is that you call it, that's part of the divine, force out there. We're going to have a lot more immediate and direct experiences with them this year. So it's going to happen. It's going to happen. Now, so the supernatural and paranormal, those types of activities we can expect a lot more of. We can definitely expect mass encounters, not just single individuals with moonshine in whatever, or teenagers making out near swamp gas, seeing extraterrestrial, like all of us groups. We're going to see a lot more of this. And we'll be able to validate each other that this is happening. We're not crazy. The other thing, though, is that when the veil between worlds is very thin like this, and it will be like this all year long, right? in this particular case, because it's Pisces in the 12th house, the quality of your thoughts is going to be everything. This is critical, so critical. And we're going to talk about that in a second. So for right now, going back to beginner 101 astrology, let's talk about houses and Pisces and Neptune and how this all kind of pulls together. So get yourself a piece of paper, pencil, if you want. All right. And we're going to draw a circle on a piece of paper. Okay. So this circle is going to represent a 360-degree wheel. In this circle, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to divide it up into 4 sections. It's kind of like making a pizza, right? Okay. So the line across here represents the east-west line, or the horizon. This, running vertically, is going to represent north and south. So when we divide up the heavens, astronomically, or astrologically, we're dividing it up into quarters, but more specifically, we're dividing it up into cardinal directions, east, west, north, south. So the furthest east point is called your ascendant. The furthest west point is called a descendant. This is where the sun rises in the morning on the ascendant, on the far east side of the horizon. And this is where the sun sets across the descendant, or the far west side. At the very top of the chart, we have the midhaven, which is also known as the medium coeli. And at the furthest south part, we have the IC, which is also known as the Imium Coeli. Okay? So the midhaven, also known as the Medium Coeli, is the topmost part of the chart. This is Capricorn's house. This is considered north, right? At the very bottom of the chart is the IC, or the Imium Coeli. This is considered the southernmost part of the chart and is associated with the sign Cancer. These 4 points, okay, also represent the solstices. Okay, so we have Aries, Cancer, Libra, so we have Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn represent the 4 solstice points, the changes of the season. Okay, now from here, because we have 12 signs that we're putting into this wheel, because this is representing the wheel of life, right? Or the wheel of experience. So those of you who have been watching the wheel of time, it's this, the turning wheel of life, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to put in additional houses. We're dividing it up like that. And that's going to give us 12 houses to go with the 12 signs. So I'm going to put the signs in here real quick. All right. Oh, here. Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, Sag, Cap, Aquarius, Pisces. So when we put the signs in the houses, starting here, we have Aries in the first house, right? Then we have Taurus, Gemini, Cancer in the 4th house, Leo, Virgo, Libra in the 7th, Scorpio, Sag, Capricorn in the 10th, Aquarius, and then Pisces here in the 12th house. Okay? So your 12th house is right here. Okay. So each of these houses, right, just like the signs, represents an area of experience in life. It represents a focal point, some part of the life experience. Some part of the life experience that is emphasized, you know, in the person's participation or pass through on the wheel this time around. So the thing with astrology is it's unavoidable that at some level you're going to start talking about reincarnation and past lives and future lives, because the idea is that when you are looking at astrology and you're looking at these cycles of experiences, this is a wheel, it's a cycle, right? We're talking about phases of experience, and we know that there is no one and done. You don't get one chance to get it right. If you mess up, you're going to hell. That's a simpleton fairy tale we tell children to make them behave. It's not true, and it doesn't make any sense. We know that through our incarnations, in terms of our spiritual development, even in your personal, like physical development here as a person in this one lifetime, you're going to go through phases and cycles. It's not just it exists and it's done, right? So when we get into astrology, we know that as this wheel is turning and we're going through this existence, there are certain things that are being emphasized that we are meant to experience or go through. We have to have experiences that we have to deal with to get through this, to polish off, refine, improve, or correct, so that we can move on to the next phase of existence with less baggage. Okay. Now, all these houses represent specific spheres or areas of life that are emphasized. These signs, right? The zodiac signs that we're familiar with, my sun sign is in Scorpio. It's not, I'm just saying. All of those sun signs represent also, again, a type of experience or expression that we are learning from, right? So the Aries expression or the Aries experience, for example, different from the first house, which is Aries house, right? So here's Aries, and that's its house, the first house. So the difference is, with the Aries experience, you are learning the qualities of Aries. You're being given opportunities in this lifetime to build up, fortify, and really refine those Aries experiences or those Aries expressions in your psyche, to incorporate them into who you are. So courage and originality, which are things that we attribute to the sign Aries, actually don't come natural to people who are Aries. Very often, Aries who are not developed yet will be copycats. They copy everybody. They're very competitive, but rather than being original, because they haven't developed that yet, they look left and right to the people around them to see what they're doing, imitate it, and try to do it better. So there's a lot of copycat behavior with Aries until they develop themselves. Originality is another thing we tend to attribute to Aries, but again, that's not true until they develop themselves. Because again, they're competitive. They're looking left, they're looking right. They're looking at what other people are doing and then imitating it to try and do it better. That's not original. That's the Elon Musk school of, trying to make a name for yourself. But in this lifetime, the whole evolutionary trip is about becoming original, becoming independent, becoming the leader at the front and center of these things, doing it on your own. Individuality. These are the things the Aries person has to learn and master. But it doesn't come naturally to them. They're here specifically to learn those things, right? And to develop those things. So there are seeds of it in our personality, but it must be nurtured into full, mature, ripe existence. The potential must be realized. And that is what these sun signs or these zodiac signs give us. What is the potential that must be realized and nurtured into existence in this lifetime? The seeds are there, but we got to bring it out, right? We've got to work on it. Now, with Pisces and Neptune and the 12th house, it gets a little weird because nobody ever understands it and everybody wants to take the quick shortcut, because, drugs, drug addiction, alcoholism. So here's the thing. With Pisces, the expression is very much about, and Neptune as well, very much about transcendence. Right? Because Pisces is a very spiritual sign. It's a very gentle sign. It's kind, it's compassionate, it's empathic, it's sensitive, typically artistic, very creative, and often a little weird in the best kinds of ways. Like there's nothing like a Pisces-Neptune vibe to really make you understand that there's a lot more color in the world. Sometimes you just need to tune into it. So the thing about it is Pisces are just as capable as anybody else of being cruel and sadistic and mean and selfish and all these things that we don't ascribe to the sign of Pisces. But the seeds of compassion and gentleness and kindness and sensitivity, all those things are there in them, and they're, for the Pisces person, needing to be developed and nurtured into existence. You'll see it, but it's not in its full expression in some people. It doesn't mean it's not there, but it does mean in this lifetime, that's what they're, in their evolutionary development, that's what the focus is on. So the thing about it, though, is that people often look at Pisces and they only see the surface, right? So they see laziness, they see sleep, lots and lots of sleep. They see escapism and conflict avoidance because Pisces does not like strong, hot emotions, not at all. Scare a fish, it'll swim away. And also, too, the whole thing with drugs and addiction and all this sort of stuff. They see all the negatives of Neptune and Pisces because it's easier to identify and remember, right? It's very hard to identify and label empathy and compassion and gentleness and kindness in other people when you know for a fact you're not developing it yourself, because that just makes you feel bad about yourself. So people tend to avoid looking at that. So the other thing, so here are some things that go with the rulership of Pisces and Neptune in 12th house. And these are the things I need you guys to remember as we move through this year, because these keywords that are specific to Pisces, Neptune, and 12th house are going to be very, very big, important words as we go along. So the first thing, obviously, in terms of character are kindness, gentleness, empathy, compassion, and mercy. The whole Pisces vibe is about alleviating the suffering of others. Absolutely. Which is why you'll find many Pisceans drawn towards things that are charitable or rescue work, okay? Or some type of spiritual work where they can be of service, in a charitable way. The other things associated with Pisces, Neptune in the 12th house has to do with hospitals, medicine, not just drugs, medicine, chemicals, liquids, poisons, okay? It also has to do with spirituality in churches, places of refuge, right? The places where we go to heal on a deep, deep non-physical level, which also includes psychiatric institutions. So mental health is covered by the 12th house, or Pisces' health. Pisces house. Physical health is covered by its opposite sign and house, Virgo in the 6th. So when you're looking at a chart, Virgo rules physical health, or the physical wellness of our bodies and the world around us. Pisces in the 12th has to do with our mental wellness and the wellness of our psyche in ourselves and the world around us. Okay, hence spirituality or church, whichever way your little fins float. Now, the 12th house in Neptune and Pisces also rules everything that's not covered by everything else. So the thing about it is, oftentimes, when we can't figure out what to do with something, and we don't know what rulership it goes to or what house it goes to, it just gets assigned to Pisces. Pisces is like the giant, junk drawer or the garbage bin, where if you don't know what to do with it, just throw it there. It's the closet where everybody shoves things in and you never see it again. And that's kind of an awful way to look at it. But in a lot of ways, it's apropos. Because remember, we're talking about cycles of existence. This whole wheel represents cycles of existence. We are cycling through various expressions and various ways of living and being and things to develop, refine, and evolve. All right, you don't get one lifetime, and if you screw it up, you're done. You get multiple lifetimes to get it right. The difference is every time you mess up, right, it's more baggage that you're carrying with you the next time around. So imagine that in this life, think about the crosses that you have to bear in your lifetime right now. Now imagine having to go through this again, only you've got even more crosses you have to carry in addition to the ones you were carrying all before you started, right? And it just gets worse and worse and worse. That cross and those crosses get heavier and heavier and heavier. So the idea is that we're trying to clean ourselves up in this lifetime. We're trying to refine and improve and better ourselves. We're trying to unburden ourselves of these crosses because we've redeemed ourselves in this lifetime. So that in the next lifetime, when we start over again doing something else, improving some other part of our nature, right, we're not bringing extra baggage with it on top of what we have to carry to get through that process. So Pisces, as the last house and last sign over here of the zodiac, anything that didn't fit in over here, we don't know what to do with. We just shove it over here, right? So it's like this closet or junk drawer. We keep throwing things in. But the thing about it is, the reason this is happening is not because these things are waste or trash. Like, there's no such thing as a wasted skill. There's no such thing as a wasted experience. All of these things are very important in terms of giving you leverage and opportunity to develop your strength or your resilience or something. There's something there that you can recycle this experience into as a positive for yourself somehow, right? Even if it's only a little bit. Sometimes, literally, some things are like eating crabs. It's a whole lot of work for a little tiny bit of reward. And if you've ever had to eat crabs, like, it's a lot of damn work for that little piece of meat. I'm telling you, I'm not a fan. Because of that, I'm not a fan. But some people like working extra hard for their rewards, I guess. I don't know. So the thing about it is, when we get to Pisces at that end, right, all of these things, no matter how much waste or trash it seems like, because it doesn't have value in the moment and we don't know what else to do with it, it's not actually wasteful or lacking value. It's just we don't. So Pisces gets it. So the thing with Pisces and rulership in the 12th house is that Pisces in the 12th house and its rulership also has to do with waste and discards and throwaway people and homelessness and all of the things that we don't know what to do with. We can't figure out how it's useful now. We can't find a solution to make it go away. We just don't know what to do with it. So we push it all over there. Okay. So that also is something that we may see coming up as a focus this year. Homelessness or houselessness, I think is how they're calling it now. Houselessness, medication / chemicals / poison / drugs. Overdoses may or may not be spiking this year. I know a lot of people are suggesting that because Jupiter's in Pisces and Pisces rules addiction, and Jupiter expands things. So there's a lot of suggestion that there might be an increase in overdoses. But I'll tell you, between you and me, I don't necessarily think that's the truth or accurate, because we've already seen a huge spike in overdoses because of the pandemic, because of all the insanity going on in the world, and because of this great chaotic, messy change we're in the process of. A lot of people have hit their limit. They've been hard done by circumstance and or people, and they didn't have it in them to continue. So we've already seen that. I don't know that this year is going to be exceptional compared to the last few years in that regard. However, what I will say is that also overdosing because of drugs or alcohol, things of this nature, mental health is also going to be a big topic this year, and we may see lots of improvements and lots of efforts in terms of shunting or staving off the worst of it, right? And again, while I'm doing this video, what comes up in my mailbox, apparently the federal government is doing this thing about Narcan. So you as a citizen will now have access to a life-saving drug called Narcan that can be administered to people who have overdosed on opiates. Oxycontin, heroin, fentanyl, and something else. But with all of these opioids will depress the respiratory system. They'll slow down the breathing so much that literally you'll barely be breathing at all, and breathing so little that the heart will start going into a heart attack because it's not getting oxygen, right? Or not nearly enough oxygen. And that's typically how people die from opioid overdoses. So Narcan is this little nasal spray, just like those little nasal sprays you use for allergies, that you spray into somebody's nose that will interrupt the chemical processes with the overdose and allow the nervous system and everything to start functioning again so that they're breathing again, right? And you'll have time to call an ambulance, get them to a hospital, which leads to a rehab, which leads to a second chance and an opportunity to, redeem their life and their choices, and, be a lighthouse for other people. You can now be a hero part of that process, thanks to the federal government making the training and the Narcan supplies available to the general public. I will post a link below so that you can contact your local state to get Narcan to carry with you in case you come across somebody who is having an opioid overdose. So that is a very Jupiter and Pisces thing. So the issue of overdosing is definitely coming up, but with this nationwide, I don't know about other countries, but certainly here, this is new, right? We've got so much toxicity built into our culture. We don't have any value for human life or human dignity if you are homeless, if you are a drug addict, if you are, a sexually active woman, if you are a minority, if you are, if you're not specific things in this teeny tiny model, or demographic, then you don't really have any value as far as they're concerned in terms of giving you second chances or saving your life or even, redeeming the choices in your life so that you have an opportunity to do better things. We've got a lot of toxic stuff built into the culture that's got to go. And it will. And it will, because this Narcan and the stuff for here is a big deal. This is a very big mass shift in consciousness for us here in the United States, which is good. We need to evolve. The other thing I want you guys to consider as we're going through this, and this is very important, and now we're going to get into the Jupiter-Neptune Pisces stuff, right? Pisces is the last sign of the zodiac. The 12th house is the last house out of 12 houses in a 360-degree wheel. This is literally the last stop on the train in this cycle of existence. Okay, so here, when we get here, there's nowhere left to go after this. It's got to get done. Anything that you need to say, do, or have done has to be done by then, because this is the last stop on the train. There's nowhere to go after this, because once you get off here, you start over fresh, and anything you left behind, didn't do, or did do and didn't make up for, that's it. It stands the way it is. You'll never, ever recover that. Okay? Ugh, sounds ominous, doesn't it? And it kind of is a little bit. So Pisces in the 12th house represents the last cycle of existence, right? Before we start a brand new epoch, okay, or a brand new cycle of existence. And we can never recover what was lost, forgotten, or injured or not tended to prior to this. Because once this is done, that curtain comes down, we're done. You can never go back for it. Right now, with Jupiter and Neptune in Pisces in this last sign of the zodiac, we're approaching the last stop on the train. So this year, especially with Jupiter and Neptune together, both of them being the rulers of Pisces, this is powerful stuff, powerful stuff. I can't begin to describe to you how important this is. These two things together in Pisces represents the end of the road for a lot of things. And because Pisces and Neptune in 12th house has everything to do with mental health and psychic spiritual health and your thoughts, okay? This is a very important time to get in touch with what you really think, like really think, as opposed to what you're saying, right? So here's the thing. Pisces and Neptune, but specifically Pisces, is about faith. Okay, one of the things we're going to see a lot of this year are miracles, like literally miracles, like happening regularly, frequently, and by many people. Just like those extraterrestrial aliens, multiple people are going to see, not just one or two of us hanging out near, smoking newish weed near the swamp grass. It will be validated by other people, lots of other people. It won't just be us. So it's the same thing with the miracles. These miracles are going to be happening on a regular and frequent basis this year, and it won't be just one or two people who see it. And we're like, yeah, well, maybe. Are you sure you were dipping into the sacramental wine a little too much, babe? It will be many of us seeing this, so we can validate it for each other. Now, here's the thing, though, right? Miracles are confirmations of faith, and miracles typically occur in one of two ways. They either occur for people who did not see it coming and have no idea why it's happening to them. They just know it's happening and it's good. So they're very lucky and blessed in that way. And the reasons this is happening, we don't know. And they don't know. The other time miracles happen, and this doesn't happen as often as we'd like it to, but it does happen. And this is the secret to the miracles this year. I want you guys to understand, because this is the last stop on the train. We will never pass this way again. You cannot step in the same river twice. This is the end of the road. So if you don't get it in now, once the train leaves the station, that's it. That's it. So miracles also occur based on faith. But here's the key, right? The faith that drives the appearance of a miracle has to be, and always is, such a strong, committed, and absolute faith that this thing is going to happen, or that divine providence is absolutely operational here, and things are happening the way they're supposed to be happening, not the way I want them to happen. Or that, like, the faith in this thing, the belief system that drives the faith is so strong and absolute and pure and committed that of course the miracle had to happen, because it was the faith that drove the miracle. When they say that faith can move mountains, this is what they're talking about. But the challenge is that it's not faith like, oh, I believe in this and I believe in that. Like, no, to hell with your beliefs. It's not about that, right? There's superficial beliefs, then there's actual beliefs. So it's not about what you tell yourself. It's not about what you tell other people. It's not about what you think you believe, right? When the chips are down, you'll know real quick what you actually believe about yourself, the world, and situations. It's about what's true and absolute and committed. So this year, starting now, as Jupiter enters Pisces, starting right now, I want you to check in with yourself and really listen to yourself. What are the things that you repeat easily and casually as if it was just a matter of fact? That hasn't happened yet. That's your faith and your belief. That's what you have faith and you believe will come to pass. Or it just wouldn't be part of casual, comfortable conversation. If somebody started talking about, pink elephants, like, you would laugh them off. This never comes up in casual conversation as if it were a real possibility, because we know it's not. Right? So check in with yourself when you think and say things. What are the things that you are thinking and saying casually and comfortably that have not happened yet, but are in your mind a real possibility? That is where your faith and your belief is. And that is what you need to check, because that will determine whether you receive miracles or not. Okay? So faith system, beliefs, thinking, mind creates reality. All of these things are connected. These are all under Pisces, 12th house, and Neptune. And we're really going to be in touch with that. We're really going to have our finger on the pulse of that this year. The only way to get the best out of this and really, really ride high, to surf this wave of enlightenment that comes with Jupiter and Neptune, by being able to actually experience these things, right? Is by getting your mind right. You're really going to have to do the work. You have to do the work. You have to look inside yourself and start getting honest and pure and kind with yourself, right? And you've got to find that way and be able to get into that place. You've got to find a place to get into your committed faith based on positive, strong beliefs that are life affirming. If you do that, then you're going to get amazing things out of this Jupiter-Neptune transit through Pisces this year. Now, with that said, where are we? Okay, we're good for we're just at a half an hour. I know, so long-winded, right? So here's the thing I want to tack onto this. Now, with that said, when we talk about faith and belief systems and what we're willing to believe and what we're willing to say casually to, or just a matter of fact, of course, and it's just, of course, it's true. It's a real possibility. I know many of you have seen this over the last decade or so. I know you've seen it. Because they never really go away. They're always here. It's just like ebbs and flows, right? Sometimes there are more of them and more active and less active, depending on how we feed them. The whole story about, the two wolves that live inside you, which one survives is the one you feed the most. And before I get into this, I just want to say, I'm not a conspiracy theory person, and I'm also not a hyper moralistic religious church person, and I don't believe in this nonsense about some people are evil and devils and demons and like that's a little too, it's just not, I'm not, that's not my thing. But what I will say is that there are energies or forces out there that are certainly dark, or demonic, and demonic being another word for dark, not necessarily an entity. There are forces out there that are demonic. Everything has its time and its place and its purpose, right? But these dark forces or demonic forces have been at play for quite some time. I know you guys have all seen it too. Not all of you. I know many of you have seen this. We've seen this. We've seen the rise and swell of the darkness, trying to swallow us all up into it. We're actively in the midst of it now. So the thing about it is, we are in the battle of dark and light. We are in the battle. We have reached critical mass. Remember, Pisces, 12th house, Neptune, Jupiter, all these things in the last position of the zodiac, the last cycle of existence for this go around before we start brand new with a whole new board game, is this year. So the forces of dark and light have been in battle all the time, because it's yin yang. They're constantly, moving around each other. But in this particular case, the darkness has really kind of, stepped up, and they're having a field day. They are having a field day because we have allowed them to. And not because, oh my God, not because we're not going to church enough, not because we're not doing this enough, not because we're not pointing fingers at people enough. It's because what we allow ourselves to believe, what we believe in casually as if it were a real possibility that hasn't happened yet, these are the things our faith is built on. So we have faith that these things are going to happen, or that these are the things that control the world, right? And we feed into that with our thoughts and our beliefs. So right now as we speak, we are in the thick of it, and they're not even trying to hide themselves. The darkness that is around us is so brazen and shameless and obvious. They are not even trying to hide it. Right? We literally have people who are so lost in the darkness, so lost in the freaking soup. They're still in Dallas waiting for a dead man to come back from the grave, because in their mind he never actually died 40 years ago. Right? We literally have people who honestly believe there's some cabal of child-eating politicians, or, oh my God, people have lost their ever-loving mind. People don't want to wear masks. They don't want to inconvenience themselves for a short temporary period of time to protect everyone around them. They're only thinking of themselves. These are the things that we're looking at. It's getting worse and worse and worse right now. And the people who would be agents of light or forces of light, such as, surprise, your healthcare workers in hospitals, are getting beat down and overworked and burned out. They're literally on their last legs because they're overwhelmed and have continued to be overwhelmed for 2 years now. Not 6 months, not a month, 2 years. 2 years of ICUs and hospitals literally being flooded with patients to a degree that is unprecedented and certainly well beyond the human ability to cope with, much less, find the resources in a hospital that was never prepared to do something like this. And there are people who just don't care and don't look at it and don't want to know, and it's just all like you're just making it up. You're just making it up. So let's make more patients to send to the hospitals. Yeah, it's that kind of we're in that kind of place right now. So you and your thoughts, right? What you believe, what you actually believe, checking in with yourself and getting really honest with yourself and doing a course correction right now is big. It's really big. Now, so the thing I want to add to this is, while we're doing this, because we are in the final days of this particular battle. This is not this is not a one and done deal. We don't get one battle and that's over. We don't get one lifetime and then it's over. We'll go through this again. We will go through this again. And the idea is that we are trying to refine and purify, as we go along. But in this particular cycle, we've reached the last cycle. And this is very important that we get it right, because you don't want extra crosses to bear as you go into the next life with the new crosses you're going to get. They're heavy enough by themselves. You don't need to add to it with old baggage, right? So if you're not understanding how to identify demons, right, or how to identify agents of darkness, here's how. This is literally the easiest way to identify it. You ready? Demons or agents of darkness thrive on human suffering and misery. They thrive on you suffering. They thrive on you being miserable. They thrive on all of the superficial ego or human traits that literally cause and create more suffering: selfishness, self-serving thinking, greed, gluttony, all those things that make, me first, mine, only mine, the hell with everybody else, and you're awful, you're evil, that kind of stuff, right? That's darkness, and agents of darkness, demons, thrive on this, because hell is not a vacation place. When they talk about war being hell, it is because war has all the components that agents of darkness and demons thrive on: chaos, destruction, anger, hatred, irrational fears, irrational hatred, irrational prejudice, the lack of regard for human life, sadism, complete and utter disregard for the sanctity of children and childhood and motherhood, all of these things, right? The lust for power is the big one right there, okay? The lust for power. And lies, misinformation, they call them the prince of lies for a reason. All of these things, confusion, chaos, all of these things contribute to darkness, right? And demons are agents of darkness. They thrive on these things. So if you find yourself dealing with a situation or person or entity or group or organization that contributes to or absolutely is fanning the flames of chaos, lies, misinformation, confusion, hatred, anger, violence, right? Irrational prejudices, irrational fears, irrational hatred, the lust for power, selfishness, self-absorbed behavior, making it all about yourself, me, mine, to hell with all the rest of you, right? And this othering, me or us versus them, right? The separation that separates us from our spiritual brothers and sisters. This is when you're dealing with the agents of darkness, right? Or demons. Now, this is not to say that people are demons, but certainly people can participate or get lost in the soup and find themselves as the handmaidens of the agents of darkness, right? Unwittingly. Because I'm pretty sure those people hanging out in Dallas right now waiting for JFK to come back from the dead, because he apparently never died, I'm sure they're not necessarily evil, awful people, but they certainly are definitely lost. Okay, and what better way to be lost and get lost than to find yourself in the middle of darkness? So keep that in mind as you're going through the year, and check in with yourself and understand that when we talk about the battle between darkness and light, one of the things that we're talking about also too is eradicating all of these things that contribute to and accelerate and amplify human suffering, because demons thrive on human misery and human suffering, and everything that contributes to it is absolutely their favorite tool of choice. So the more we can remove that and nullify that and weaken that grip on those things, the easier and faster we can get to, you know, a favorable outcome, so that when we come to the end of this trip, when we come to the end of this road in this 12th house Pisces Neptune thing, we will all be in a much lighter, happier, freer place, and we can move forward into the next cycle of existence with a lot less burden attached to what we're already picking up along the way. Okay. Now, let's get to some other stuff. Okay, so we're going to finish this up with just some, I'll take the glass off, with just some discussion about things, some other things to expect as we're going through. So we know that miracles are going to be plentiful and abound everywhere, especially for people who are strong in their faith. So this is very much time of faith testing, because you don't know how strong your faith is until it's tested. So for those who are actively working on it, understand there will be a lot of faith testing this year as well. But if you pass the test, if you can stay strong in your faith, the rewards are going to be amazing, because this is definitely going to be your time. So there's that extraterrestrial, supernatural, paranormal things we're going to see a lot of, and in large groups. So it won't just be one or two people here and there that everybody thinks is crazy. It's going to be a whole bunch of people also seeing it, so they can validate each other, right? And you. This is good. We like this. We should see, hang on to this, we should see breakthroughs, nearly short of miraculous, in terms of medicine. And also health and healthcare, and also we should see a lot of discussion or activities centered around mental health and houselessness, right? So these things have always been issues. These are not things that spring into existence overnight, but this year these things come to the forefront of our consciousness, and they become critical issues that are now right in our face. We can't ignore them any longer. So that should be good. We should see some breakthroughs and some really innovative approaches to that, or at least we should be heading in that direction. So if you have some time and you have the ability to volunteer or do things for to help alleviate some of the suffering, you know, and misery of people who are unfortunately houseless at this time, or who are struggling with mental health issues, and sometimes those are the same thing. If you can do things that will help alleviate at least some of their suffering through volunteer work, or, you know, making, you know, like these blankets they made out of plastic shopping bags, which is pretty amazing, and things like that, then absolutely do it. It's a very important thing, and the rewards for this are huge, not just for yourself, but for everybody. We really need to bring everybody up onto the boat so we can get through this. So there is the possibility we may see some type of breakthrough or improvement with the pandemic, but I'm not going to put that out there, because the goddess is not done with us yet, and clearly she's not going to let up until everybody pulls their head out of their damn asses. So unfortunately, the light workers, who are your hospital workers and healthcare workers, you know, the people who are actively trying to keep people alive, they're unfortunately carrying the heaviest crosses for this stupidity right now. Bless their hearts. So anything we can do to assist in alleviating their suffering also is good, such as maybe not ending up in the hospital, for God's sakes. Just saying. Okay. Some of the other things we can absolutely expect are certainly some extraterrestrial activity. So we know ET exists. We know the Navy has finally copped to it and admitted that yes, we believe there's something out there. And NASA, apparently 2 days ago, just finding out this morning, has hired theologians, or religious scholars, to talk to them about what they're going to do, what we're all going to do if we do find out there's life off of the planet, and what does that do to our belief in God as we currently know it. That's pretty big stuff when NASA hires religious scholars to have this conversation. So you know something's up. You know something's up. Whew, yay, Jupiter and Pisces. Jupiter and Neptune and Pisces. Some other things that should come up that we need to examine, and again, none of these things are new. They've been around, and they've been building, like a wave in the ocean turning into a tsunami. Will also be matters of ocean life and the ocean and waterways, and clean, clear, safe drinking water, as opposed to liquid poison. And remember when I said that Pisces in the 12th house is a lot like a garbage bin or a junk drawer, where people just shove things because they don't know what else to do with them, because it doesn't have any value for them that they can recognize in that moment? Well, this also will be coming up, as I would expect. Garbage in the ocean and garbage or waste management should be reaching critical mass this year. So recycling is no joke, and also cutting down your consumption is no joke. So we really should be, if you consider yourself a light worker, this is a very important time to really consider how much you're contributing to unnecessary waste on the planet that's literally polluting our waterways. Because at the end of the day, your iPhone's not going to help you call anybody to get clean drinking water if there's none to drink. So there's that. And this goes for clothes as well, you know. But these are conversations we should be having with ourselves, along with those conversations about our faith and what we really believe in, as opposed to what we tell ourselves. So there's that. The other things that I would look for this year with Jupiter and Neptune together in Pisces as they pass through. Now Jupiter will Jupiter will move ahead into Aries briefly and then back into Pisces, because Jupiter is moving fast through the sign of Pisces. So we don't really have a whole lot of time to, lay around and enjoy this. Like, it's this, you got to work it, girl. You got to work. So if you're going to get anything out of this, you really have to pay attention and focus and do the work right now. Get serious about it. Right. Also, some of the other things I would expect with Jupiter and Neptune and Pisces this year is a renaissance in music and the arts. And also the possibility of, because Pisces is always about that transcendent vibe, right? Also the possibility of some new avant-garde or completely like, synthesizer, like, whoa, what the hell was that? Kind of innovation in terms of art. So we may be having some very trippy psychedelic stuff happening this year in our art, music, and otherwise. So that will be interesting to watch. Now, some other things, because Pisces and Neptune rule duplicates. So Gemini rules duplicates as well. The difference is Pisces rules mirror images, right? So Alice in Wonderland images kind of thing. So where Gemini rules Xerox copies or mimeographs, like identical copies of something, Pisces represents a mirror image, or the exact opposite of what you're seeing. Things that are upside down and backwards sort of stuff. Like looking into a mirror, it's a mirror image. With that said, alternate realities, alternate universes, and more than the parallel worlds that these people have been living here in the United States. Golly day. But alternate universes, alternate realities, all of these things that have to do with duplicates, right? Mirror images of things will also be a big topic of conversation. So I would expect some major contributions or discussions coming out of the world of physics or quantum physics. That should be fascinating. Now, the downside of that, of course, is this can also express itself as more duplicity, more dishonesty, more lies, more, chimeras, right? More of this stupidity we've been dealing with from the leadership globally, where they're literally gaslighting all of us, and have been for a while, using the media, using visual media, using written media, all these things. Not media as an entity, but media as a tool, okay? Because Neptune and Pisces rule glamour as well as visual images, videos, things of that nature. So Hollywood is ruled by Neptune, because Neptune rules the silver screen. It rules the illusion, the image, right? The fantasy. And this is not a bad thing. I mean, good Lord, the silver screen and Neptune gave us with the Wizard of Oz on screen, not just in a book. So there's a lot of good stuff here with it, but we may see some misuse of it because, again, we are in the last cycle of existence this go around. This is the last stop on the train, even though you may not recognize it for what it is right now. So the forces of darkness are in their battle with the forces of light, as they do continually and eternally. This is a cyclic battle that we have. So now we're at the end of this particular round, and they're digging in. They're so comfortable, they're shameless about their presence, and now they're digging in because they're just determined they're going to give it one last push to try and win this game before we start the new one. So we can expect, because remember, Prince of Darkness, Prince of Lies, chaos, confusion, deception, all those things that demons and demonic forces thrive on, we can absolutely expect them to try and use this to their advantage. One of the nice things is, if you have been paying attention, it's not working. It's not working. I mean, some people are really lost in the darkness, and okay, we'll be here when you come back, if you choose to come back. But for the most part, we are not who we were the last time we played this game, and it's not working. So stay the course, clear your mind, get your mind right, figure out what you really, really believe, and fix to it with commitment so that you can literally create miracles through the sheer force of your faith. That's how you do it. No swords and magical curses needed. Okay. Also with Jupiter and Neptune, the rise of the false prophet, which has been going on for years, but we should really see it come to fever pitch now. So people who are masters of deception and illusion and false promises and this whole, salvation if you just pay me $100,000 or whatever. Oh my God, if you just vote my way, la la la, if we just get rid of them, da 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 da. All these people are masters of deception and illusion, who are basically agents of darkness. Like, they will be in full force throttle now. The difference is, we'll see it. Well, many of us will see it. Some people are just determined to be lost in the darkness. And if that's where they need to be, we can't, you just got to let them be there. Just be there for them when they come out, eventually. And what else? Jupiter, Neptune, and Pisces. So there's that. We may, because Jupiter rules large animals, and Pisces and Neptune rules ocean or water animals, water life. So there is the possibility, if that's the case, with Jupiter and Pisces, with Neptune, because Neptune also rules things that are hidden, right? And the 12th house and Neptune are things that are mysterious and deep and hard to fathom, and in just beyond our reach and comprehension, right? Because it's so many levels out away from the reality we exist in. I would suspect, given that description, there's the possibility that we may have a Loch Ness monster sighting, like a real one, a big one. Who the hell knows? Maybe it's a Loch Ness monster having a picnic with big Sasquatch. But the Loch Ness monster may come up as a thing this year. That will be fascinating, because all of those things that we just described for Jupiter, Neptune, and Pisces and their rulerships are absolutely sound like something we would describe the Loch Ness monster with. So that will be interesting if that comes to pass. Aliens, extraterrestrials, having a picnic in Scotland with Sasquatch and the Loch Ness monster. Oh my. Okay, sorry, having a little fun here. And I think that's it. I refuse to believe, and I in my heart and soul, I do not feel. So my faith, my absolute faith, my belief is that we are not heading into a cataclysmic year. This will not be the end of it. We will be okay, especially those of us who are affected by this horrid, shameless power grab that we're seeing happening in front of us at the expense of everyone except the people grabbing the power. So with women and women's rights, I don't think it's going to end this way. We're going to get through this. It's going to be a battle, and you're going to have to participate and help make this come out right. But we've got a very strong chance and a lot of support behind us to make this come out right. Okay? But you got to participate. Nobody's going to do it for you. You've got to want this for yourself. You have to believe with all your heart, strong and committed enough that it is now your faith to make miracles happen. And 11th hour miracles are more possible now on a regular basis this year than ever before. Oh, and the last thing is, I just wanted to mention, before I forget, the 12th house and Pisces also rules the end of life. So end of life issues, end of life matters will also be part of the big discussions this year. So we may see conversations about euthanasia, maybe, but certainly nursing homes and the elderly, and again hospitals and end of life matters. All of these things will be coming up as a major focus of discussion as well. So charity, mercy, and kindness. Charity, mercy, kindness, and compassion are the big golden rules for life, and especially this year, if you want to get through this year safely, and with the best possible outcomes for yourself and the people around you. So practice those things and stay focused, as difficult as it might be some days. And you'll find yourself coming out on a much better side of this. So that's it. If there is anything else I can think of, I will certainly write it in a post under the community tab channel, because write differently than I think. So I may think of stuff to add in, just a little side post in there. So you may want to take a look there. If you have any questions, by all means, put it down there in the comment section. I'll be trying to get back to you. We'll have the 2022 horoscopes up shortly. I will do the algal fixed star video, the Medusa video. I swear I will, but I'm trying to get all my equipment together to work so I can do a really nice video for this, because it's one of the things that's only going to get done once, so it should be done well. So that's taking a little longer than expected. And I think that covers everything. If I haven't covered something, or you have a question about something where you're not sure, again, please put it in the comment section and we'll have a discussion about that, because, you know, I'm trying to keep this video under 6 hours. And keep the faith. Keep the faith. Determine what it is that you actually have faith in, what your real faith is, what you really believe versus what you tell yourself or tell other people. And keep the faith, because this is going to be an amazing year if we participate in it the right way. Okay, links for the Narcan information is going to be down below. The link for the NASA hiring theologians will be down below. Oh my God, was that unexpected? And any other miscellaneous links, miscellaneous things, and the chapter tab. So if you want to come back and review something, well, we'll see how it goes. It should also be down below. I don't know if I can do that for this video. And also, if you guys want a worksheet to work on, to learn like real basic stuff or review stuff, like let me know as well. And I'll see what I can do about conjuring up a little worksheet for fun and posting it somewhere or something like that. Okay, so talk to you guys later. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you like, subscribe, and share with somebody who might benefit from it, and we'll talk to you later.